Commander Alex Ryder suppressed a sigh as he scanned the docking manifest for the Rust Bucket freighter that had just arrived at Kepler 9 space station. After 15 years in Alliance Security's elite units, being reassigned to this backwater transit hub felt like punishment. Which, if he was being honest with himself, it probably was. The Crimson Comet, he muttered, eyeing the ancient draconian vessel through the viewport, carrying low-grade machine parts. Sure, Commander Ryder, I have completed the preliminary scan, came a crisp, measured voice behind him. Alex turned to face Officer Zura Vlur, his newly assigned Lyran partner. The slender, silver-skinned alien stood ramrod straight, her large, luminescent eyes fixed on her datapad. The reflective quality of her skin caught the harsh station lighting, creating an almost metallic sheen that contrasted with the deep blue of her uniform. "Anything interesting, Vlur?" Alex asked, not bothering to hide his lack of enthusiasm. These joint patrols were the result of a new treaty between humans and several alien species, including the Lyrans. Politics, bureaucracy, and paperwork. 3 things Alex despised. "Nothing flagged in the standard protocols," Zara replied, her tone even. "However, I would recommend a Level 2 inspection." "Based on what?" Alex frowned. A Level 2 inspection meant at least another hour of work, and his shift was nearly over. "Intuition," Zara said simply, her silver features impassive. Alex snorted. "Intuition isn't in the protocol manual." "Perhaps not in yours," Zara countered, the faintest hint of challenge in her voice. "Lyran sensory perception is documented to detect biological signatures that human equipment cannot. I sense anomalies on that vessel." "Fine," Alex conceded reluctantly. "But if all we find is some draconian's pet vermin, you're filling out the overtime forms." Together, they boarded the Crimson Comet, where they were greeted by Captain Grok, a burly draconian with weathered scales and a too-wide smile that revealed rows of yellowed teeth. "Welcome, welcome, esteemed officers." Grok's voice boomed in the cramped cargo hold. "Everything is in order, yes? Just simple parts, nothing exotic, nothing worth your valuable time." Alex had dealt with enough smugglers to recognize overcompensation when he saw it. He exchanged a glance with Zara, whose antennae had subtly shifted forward, a Lyran expression of heightened alertness. "Standard inspection, Captain," Alex said casually. "Shouldn't take long if everything's as straightforward as you say." Of course. Grok gestured expansively. "Look anywhere. The manifest is accurate. Just boring parts, very boring." While Alex engaged the captain in conversation, Zara moved methodically through the cargo hold, her handheld scanner sweeping across the stacked containers. When she reached a cluster of containers near the rear bulkhead, she paused, her antennae twitching. "Commander," she called, her voice maintaining its professional tone despite the urgency Alex could now detect. "I'm registering biological signatures here. Multiple distinct patterns. Just storage mites, surely." Grok interjected too quickly. "These old containers, always getting infested. Nothing to concern yourselves with." Alex joined Zara by the containers. "Your scanner showing anything specific?" "The signatures are being actively masked," Zara replied quietly. "That requires technology, not random infestation." "Captain Grok," Alex turned, his hand casually moving closer to his sidearm. "We need to open these containers." Grok's demeanor changed instantly. The ingratiating smile vanished, replaced by a calculating look. "Perhaps we can come to an arrangement? Station security salaries are modest. Yes? I can make it worth your while to expedite this inspection." "Are you attempting to bribe Alliance security officers?" Zara asked, her voice carrying a dangerous edge. Alex stepped forward, his patience evaporating. "Open the containers now, or I'll place you under arrest and open them myself." Grok hissed, his scaled hands clenching into fists. "These contain sensitive equipment. Proprietary technology. You have no right." "Final warning." Alex cut him off, drawing his weapon. "Open them." With a snarl of defeat, Grok thumbed the release on the nearest container. The seal broke with a hiss of escaping air, and the front panel slowly lowered. What Alex saw inside froze him to the spot. for small figures huddled at the back of the container, their eyes wide with terror. They were children, alien children of at least 3 different species. One had the translucent, webbed features of an aquarian, its skin pallid and dry. Beside it cowered 2 identical feline youngsters, their feathered fur matted and dull. The fourth, a small Xylosian girl with impossibly large black eyes, stared directly at Alex with an intensity that seemed to pierce his soul. All 4 were malnourished, dirty, and wearing identical gray garments that hung loosely on their thin frames. Each child had a metallic collar or implant visible at the neck or behind the ear. "You piece of..." Alex lunged at Grok, slamming the Draconian against the bulkhead. Trafficking children. Zara had already drawn her weapon, covering both Alex and the captain, while simultaneously calling for backup on her communicator. But her eyes never left the children, and Alex could see something he hadn't noticed before in his Lyran partner, raw emotion breaking through her composed exterior. "Secure him," Zara instructed, passing Alex a set of restraints. "I will attend to the children." As Alex cuffed the now-compliant Grok, he watched Zara approach the container slowly, holstering her weapon and kneeling to appear less threatening. "You are safe now," she said softly, activating her universal translator to cycle through languages. "We will not harm you. We are security officers." None of the children moved, but the Xylosian girl's gaze shifted between Zara and Alex, assessing. In that moment, as anger coursed through him and the weight of these children's fear hung in the air, Alex knew his routine border patrol had just become something far more complicated. Security officers from Kepler 9 arrived within minutes to take custody of Captain Grok. The children, however, presented a more delicate challenge. They had been moved to a secured area of the station's security wing, where a medical drone performed preliminary scans while Alex and Zara tried to establish communication. The universal translator cycled through dozens of languages before finding partial matches for each child. The Aquarian boy, approximately 8 Earth years old, spoke a dialect from the Rigel system. The feline twins, slightly older, communicated in a simplified version of the Central World's language. But it was the Xylosian girl, who appeared to be the oldest at around 10, who seemed to understand most of what was said, though she remained silent. "Their vitals are stable but concerning," Zara reported, reviewing the medical data. "Malnutrition, mild dehydration, evidence of prolonged confinement. The Aquarian requires specialized hydration immediately." Alex nodded, handing the small Aquarian boy a container of electrolyte-enhanced water, which he gulped desperately. "What about these?" Alex gestured to the metallic devices visible on each child. Zara's expression darkened. "Unknown technology. The medical drone cannot safely remove them without further analysis." In the adjacent room, Captain Grok was being interrogated by station security, but making little progress. Alex decided a more direct approach was needed. Leaving Zara with the children, he entered the interrogation room, where Grok sat defiant but clearly nervous. "Here's how this works," Alex said without preamble, leaning across the table. "Child trafficking carries a minimum sentence of 30 years in the Tartarus mining colony. That's assuming the Alliance judicial system gets to you before word spreads about what you've been transporting. I hear Aquarians are particularly protective of their young." Grok's scales paled visibly. "I'm just transport. I don't know details." "Not good enough." Alex slammed his hand on the table. "Who's hiring you? Where are you taking these kids?" "A broker called Vane." Grok blurted, his composure cracking. "Operates out of the Tartarus asteroid belt. I never meet direct clients." "And who's the client?" "They call him the Collector," Grok said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "That's all I know. The children are rare specimens. I'm told nothing else." "The implants," Alex pressed. "What are they?" Grok shifted uncomfortably. "Control devices. Keep the merchandise compliant. That's all I know. I swear on my clutch." Alex fought down another surge of rage at children being referred to as merchandise. He returned to find Zara attempting to gain the Xylosian girl's trust, speaking softly while keeping a respectful distance. "Her name is Lyra," Zara said as Alex entered. "She has been helping me communicate with the others. The Aquarian boy is called Nyx, and the feline twins are Tari and Taro." Alex nodded toward the observation room. Grok claims they were being trafficked to someone called the Collector via a broker named Vane. Calls them rare specimens. "That corresponds with what little Lyra has conveyed," Zara confirmed. "They were taken from different locations. None seemed to know their planet of origin." Before they could discuss further, the door slid open to reveal Commander Kale, the station's Vulcanoid security chief. Tall and gaunt with copper-toned skin, Kale surveyed the room with cold efficiency. "Commander Ryder, Officer Vlur," he acknowledged stiffly. "I understand you've intercepted contraband." "Children, Commander," Alex corrected sharply. "For trafficked children." "Indeed," Kale replied, without emotion. "A most unfortunate discovery. However, protocol in such cases is clear. They must be processed through Alliance Social Services, where they will be properly identified, documented, and eventually placed in appropriate care facilities." "That could take months," Alex objected. "These kids need immediate medical attention and protection. The traffickers might try to reclaim their merchandise." "Your concern is noted, Commander Ryder," Kale said dismissively. "But regulations must be followed. The children will be transferred to the Alliance facility on the next transport shuttle, scheduled for 0800 tomorrow." "Sir," Zara interjected, "there are anomalies that suggest this is not a standard trafficking case. The implants, the diverse origins of the children, their physical condition, all indicate something more systematic." Kale's expression tightened. "Officer Vlur, your speculation, while noted, does not override established protocol. I expect your full report within the hour. The children will remain in secure holding until transfer." After Kale departed, Alex kicked a nearby chair in frustration. "Bureaucratic nonsense. Those kids will get lost in the system before we figure out what's really going on." Zara was silent for a moment, watching the children. Lyra was now sitting protectively next to Nyx, while the feline twins huddled together on a small cot. "There's an alternative approach," Zara said finally, her voice lower than usual. "One that does not strictly adhere to protocol." Alex raised an eyebrow, surprised. "You're suggesting we bend the rules? That doesn't sound very Lyran." A hint of what might have been amusement flickered across Zara's features. "Efficiency sometimes requires creative interpretation of procedures." For the first time since their partnership began, Alex felt a genuine connection with his alien colleague. "I'm listening." "These implants require expert examination," Zara continued. "Do you have contacts on the station who operate outside official channels?" Alex thought for a moment. "Actually, I do. A Grisnik tech named Pip, who owes me a favor. Works out of the lower markets, specializes in neural interfaces." "Can this Pip be trusted with a sensitive matter involving children?" "Pip has flexible ethics when it comes to authority, but is solid on protecting the vulnerable," Alex confirmed. "And capable too, trained in the Orion Medical Academy before getting expelled for unauthorized neural experiments." Decision made. They arranged for a junior officer they trusted to maintain official watch over the children while they quietly moved them to Pip's makeshift clinic in the station's lower levels. Pip turned out to be a small, furry Grisnik with oversized goggles and 6 nimble fingers on each hand. The clinic was cluttered but surprisingly sterile, hidden behind a salvage shop in a less reputable section of Kepler 9. "Traffic and control implants?" Pip chittered excitedly after examining Nyx's device. "Haven't seen this configuration before. Very sophisticated. Can you remove them?" Alex asked. Pip's furry face grew serious. "Remove?" "Yes." "Safely?" "That's trickier. These are connected directly to the central nervous system. Wrong move could cause pain, neurological damage, even death. But you can analyze them?" Zara pressed. "Already am," Pip confirmed, connecting delicate instruments to the implant on Nyx's neck while the Aquarian boy remained perfectly still, trust gradually replacing fear in his large, liquid eyes. After several tense minutes, Pip's analysis yielded disturbing results. "Triple function devices," the Grisnik explained, displaying neural scans on a view screen. tracking beacons, behavior modification through pain centers, and some kind of data collection component. Whoever designed these knows xenobiology exceptionally well. Each is custom adapted to the species. Can you deactivate them without removal? Asked Zara. I could try to suppress the tracking and control functions, Pip replied. Complete deactivation would be safer in a proper medical facility. As Pip worked carefully on each child's implant, starting with Nyx, Alex noticed how Zara maintained a constant, reassuring presence with the children. Despite her formal manner, she had a natural ability to comfort them, particularly Lyra, who had finally begun to communicate through a combination of the translator and gestures. The people who took us, Lyra said haltingly through the translator, they have cold eyes. They watch, they test, they hurt when we don't obey. No one will hurt you anymore, Zara promised, her usually measured voice carrying an unmistakable edge of protectiveness. Alex found himself watching Zara with new appreciation. Beneath her rule-following exterior was a depth of compassion he hadn't expected. He'd misjudged her, he realized. Her adherence to protocol wasn't rigid inflexibility, but a principled approach to maintaining order in a chaotic galaxy. Got something, Pip suddenly exclaimed as data streamed across his screen. When I suppressed the tracking function on the Xylosian's implant, it triggered a data upload, probably a failsafe. I've intercepted it. Alex and Zara moved closer as Pip decoded the encrypted transmission. Coordinates in the Tartarus belt, Pip confirmed. Must be Vane's base, and references to something called Project Chimera, run by someone named Dr. Eristhorn. That name sounds familiar. Alex frowned. Some kind of xenobiologist, I think. More importantly, Pip interrupted, suddenly alarmed. This transmission included a verification request. When it doesn't receive the expected response, a soft beep from the implants confirmed Pip's fear. They know, Zara said quietly. They know we have the children and that we're tampering with the implants. How long do we have? Alex asked, already moving toward the door to check the corridor. If this Vane has operatives on the station already? Pip shrugged nervously. Minutes, maybe? Alex made a quick decision. Finish suppressing those tracking functions. We need to move the kids somewhere else immediately. But they were already too late. The lights in the clinic flickered once, then stabilized, a sure sign of a security override. Moments later, the distant sound of boots in the corridor confirmed Alex's fears. Back exit, Pip whispered urgently, pressing a hidden panel that revealed a narrow maintenance passage. Through the recycling system, third junction left, then up 2 levels. That'll put you in the old hydroponics section. You're not coming? Zara asked, already helping Nyx toward the passage. Someone needs to slow them down, Pip said with forced bravado. Besides, they don't know me. I'll claim you forced me to help. Now, go. Alex hesitated only briefly before clasping the Grisnik's shoulder. We owe you, Pip. Just keep those kids safe, Pip replied. And maybe put in a good word when this is over. My license application has been rejected 3 times. Alex nodded, then helped Zara usher the children into the passage. Lyra went last, pausing to look back at Pip with her large, knowing eyes. Be careful, she said softly. The cold eyes see lies. Then they were moving through the cramped maintenance ducts of Kepler 9, the distant sounds of confrontation fading behind them as the hunter became the hunted. The abandoned hydroponics bay was a jungle of overgrown alien vegetation, dimly lit by emergency lighting and the bioluminescent fungi that had colonized the walls. It provided perfect cover, but Alex knew it was only temporary. We need a plan, he said as they settled the children in a concealed alcove formed by twisted vines. Those mercenaries will have the station's security feeds by now. Zara nodded, her silver skin catching the blue glow of nearby fungi. Commander Kale's reluctance to acknowledge anomalies concerns me. He may be compromised, or just a bureaucrat afraid of complications, Alex countered, though without much conviction. Either way, we can't count on official help. Tari and Taro, the feline twins, had curled together on a patch of soft moss, their tawny feathered fur rippling anxiously. Nyx had found a small pool of stagnant water and was sitting with his webbed hands immersed, the parched skin of his aquatic form gradually rehydrating. Lyra remained vigilant, her dark eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. While the children rested, Zara examined the data Pip had extracted before their hasty departure. Project Chimera, she read quietly, named after the Earth mythological creature composed of different animal parts. Alex leaned closer to view the fragmented files. A genetic experiment? Is that what these kids are? The data is incomplete, Zara replied, but references xenogenetic modification, crossover potential, and telepathic augmentation. It appears Dr. Thorne is attempting to create hybrid beings with amplified abilities. And these children, early test subjects perhaps, or controls. Zara's voice contained rarely displayed anger. The notes refer to them as base stock and acquisition assets. Alex felt sick. In 15 years of security work, he'd encountered many forms of exploitation, but this calculated cruelty toward children struck him on a visceral level. They've suffered enough, he said with quiet determination. We're not letting Thorne or anyone else get them back. Zara looked up, meeting his gaze with unexpected intensity. On that, Commander, we are in complete agreement. The moment of connection stretched between them, something new and unspoken taking shape. Then Lyra was beside them, her small hand touching the datapad. The doctor with cold eyes, she said through the translator. He watches through these. She pointed to her implant. He sees, he listens. That's how they find us. Pip disabled the tracking. Function, Alex assured her. Lyra shook her head. Not all disabled. I can feel echoes from all our marks. She gestured to the other children. She may be right, Zara said thoughtfully. Xylosians have natural empathic abilities. She might sense functions we cannot detect. So what's our move? Alex asked. We can't keep running. The station's only so big. They debated options as the artificial night cycle of Kepler-9 deepened around them. Eventually, a risky plan emerged, one that might expose the truth about Project Chimera and provide protection for the children. If we can't run, we trap them instead, Alex concluded. Use their eagerness to recover the children against them. It's dangerous, Zara cautioned. So is doing nothing, Alex replied. Besides, you were the one who suggested creative interpretation of procedures. For the first time, Zara smiled, a subtle yet transformative expression on her usually composed features. Indeed I did, Commander. Their plan required coordination, timing, and a considerable amount of luck. Using components salvaged from the hydroponic systems, they constructed a makeshift communications array that could bypass standard station channels. If we're right about Kale being compromised, a direct message to Alliance security would be intercepted, Alex explained as he worked. But this frequency should reach the special task force vessel that's scheduled to pass the station tomorrow. Provided it hasn't changed course, Zara noted, helping calibrate the array. Even so, we need to create evidence too compelling to ignore, Alex continued. We need to get Dr. Thorne to reveal himself and the nature of Project Chimera. A trap, Zara said, using ourselves and the children as bait. Alex nodded grimly. I don't like it either, but if we're right, Thorne is too invested to delegate this recovery. He'll want to supervise personally. The children watched them work with varying degrees of understanding. Lyra, as always, seemed to comprehend most clearly what was happening. The cold eyes will come, she said simply when Alex explained their plan in simplified terms. But we will see him first this time. As station morning approached, they put their plan into motion. The first step involved creating a diversion to draw attention away from their actual location. Using the hydroponics control systems, they triggered environmental alarms in a distant section of the station, forcing security to respond. Meanwhile, Alex and Zara prepared the abandoned research lab they had selected as their battleground, a place where they could control access and create evidence. Remember, Alex told the children as they moved through maintenance corridors toward the lab, stay hidden until we signal that it's safe. If anything goes wrong, use the emergency exit we showed you. Nix clung to Zara's hand, while the feline twins followed closely behind Alex. Lyra walked independently, her movements surprisingly confident for one so young. "They are coming," she announced suddenly, stopping in the corridor. "The broker Vane, the soldiers with cold eyes, and—" She hesitated, a shiver running through her small frame. "Him. The doctor who cuts and changes." Alex and Zara exchanged concerned glances. Their plan had anticipated confronting Thorn, but they'd hoped to have more time to prepare the trap. Change of plans, Alex decided quickly. "Zara, get the children to the safe house we discussed. I'll lead them away." "Unacceptable," Zara replied immediately. "The statistical probability of your success alone is negligible. This isn't about statistics." "Precisely," Zara cut him off. "It is about partnership. We proceed together or not at all." Their eyes met again, and Alex realized arguing would waste precious time. "Fine. New plan. We make our stand here." The corridor junction they occupied was less than ideal, but it did have one advantage: multiple escape routes if needed. They positioned the children in a small maintenance alcove with clear instructions to run if given the signal, then prepared for confrontation. They didn't wait long. 6 figures appeared at the far end of the corridor, wearing the nondescript tactical gear of professional mercenaries, flanking 2 others. One was a lean, sharp-featured man with cybernetic enhancements visible at his temples, likely Vane. The other, walking with the measured pace of someone accustomed to authority, could only be Dr. Eris Thorn. Thorn was not what Alex had expected. Rather than the mad scientist of popular imagination, he was elegant, composed, with silver-streaked dark hair and an aristocratic bearing. Only his eyes betrayed him, pale, calculating, and utterly devoid of compassion. "Commander Ryder, Officer Vlur," Thorn called pleasantly, stopping at a safe distance. How disappointing to find Alliance security officers involved in the theft of private property. "Children aren't property, Thorn," Alex replied coldly, his weapon drawn but lowered. "A legal technicality," Thorn waved dismissively. "Those specimens represent years of research and considerable investment. I'm simply here to recover what's mine." "Project Chimera," Zara stated, her posture combat-ready despite her calm tone. "Illegal xenogenetic experiments on sentient beings. Multiple violations of Alliance law." Something flickered across Thorn's composed features, surprise, perhaps, that they knew the project name. "You've been misinformed," he recovered smoothly. "My work has the highest clearance from influential members of the Alliance Council itself. Now, shall we dispense with this unpleasantness? Return my specimens, and I'll ensure your involvement is forgotten." "That won't be happening," Alex said firmly. "Those kids are under our protection now." Thorn sighed with exaggerated patience. "Such tiresome heroics. Vane, explain the situation more clearly to our friends." The broker nodded to his mercenaries, who raised advanced weapons and spread into offensive positions. What happened next occurred with lightning speed. Alex and Zara had anticipated this moment, preparations made during their planning. Hidden microcharges they'd placed in overhead conduits detonated simultaneously, plunging the corridor into darkness and filling it with steam from ruptured thermal lines. The mercenaries fired blindly, energy bolts illuminating the steam in brilliant flashes. But Alex and Zara were already moving, using the confusion to their advantage. Zara's natural Lyra night vision made her deadly in the darkness, while Alex relied on combat instinct honed through years of experience. 2 mercenaries fell to Zara's precise strikes before they realized what was happening. Alex managed to disarm a third, using the mercenary's own weapon to stun the 4th. Vane, proving himself no fighter, had retreated at the first sign of trouble. But Thorn remained, somehow untouched in the chaos, a small device in his hand. "Enough games," he called out, his voice cutting through the hissing steam. "I'd hoped to avoid this." He pressed the device, and from the alcove came the sudden, agonized cries of the children. The implants, not fully deactivated, were causing them pain. "Stop!" Alex shouted, lowering his weapon. "You're hurting them." "That's the point, Commander," Thorn replied coldly. "Compliance through consequence." A simple but effective principle. From the alcove, Lyra emerged, her small face contorted in pain, but her eyes burning with defiance. Behind her, the other children followed, each struggling against the agony but refusing to be controlled by it. "No more," Lyra said, her translator making the words strangely mechanical against her labored breathing. "No more pain. No more changing." Thorn regarded her with clinical interest. "Remarkable. Subject X, 17 shows continued resistance to neural compliance. This is precisely why further study is essential." The standoff might have continued, but a new complication arrived in the form of Commander Kale and a squad of station security officers, their weapons drawn. "All of you, weapons down," Kale ordered. "This unauthorized operation ends now." For a moment, no one moved. Then Dr. Thorne smiled. "Commander Kale, excellent timing. These officers have interfered with a classified Alliance research project. I require your assistance in securing my property and detaining these individuals." Kale's copper features remained impassive as his gaze moved from Thorne to Alex and Zara, then to the children clearly suffering from the implant's effects. "Your authorization, Doctor?" Kale asked formally. Thorne produced an official-looking document with an Alliance seal. "Full clearance, Commander. Now, if you'll proceed with the arrests." "I think not," Kale interrupted, surprising everyone. "This authorization is for xenobiological research, not child experimentation and trafficking." Thorne's composed mask slipped momentarily. "Don't be a fool, Kale. The people behind my work can end your career with a single call." "Perhaps," Kale acknowledged, "but some regulations cannot be creatively interpreted, even by a Vulcanoid." With a subtle gesture, Kale directed his security team to surround Thorne. "What changed your mind?" Alex asked, still wary. "An anonymous transmission received by my office," Kale replied, "containing substantial evidence about Project Chimera, plus the interesting detail that the Special Task Force had altered course toward Kepler 9, having received the same information." Understanding dawned on Alex. Their makeshift communications array had worked, reaching both the task force and, unexpectedly, Kale himself. Thorne, seeing his position deteriorating, played his final card. "The implants, Commander Kale. With one command, I can trigger a fatal neurological cascade in all 4 specimens. Is that what you want?" "You're bluffing, Zara." Challenged. Such a function would have appeared in Pip's analysis. "Are you certain?" Thorne's finger hovered over the device. Willing to risk 4 young lives on that assumption? The tense moment was broken by a small furry figure who burst through a maintenance hatch. Pip, sporting a bruised eye but otherwise intact, brandished a device of his own. "Signal intercepted and blocked," the Grisnik announced proudly. "Been working on it since you left my clinic. Neural disruption field, specifically calibrated to those implants' frequency." Thorne's composed exterior finally cracked completely, his face contorting with anger. "You have no idea what you're interfering with. This work will revolutionize interspecies capabilities. These specimens are nothing compared to what we could learn." "They're children," Alex said simply, moving to stand protectively in front of Lyra and the others. "Not specimens. Not property. Children." As if on cue, the distant sound of a docking ship echoed through the station's announcement system. The Alliance Special Task Force had arrived. The aftermath unfolded rapidly. Dr. Eris Thorne, Vane, and their surviving mercenaries were taken into custody by the task force, who had jurisdiction over interstellar trafficking and illegal experimentation. Evidence collected from the children's implants, combined with the data Pip had extracted, provided a damning case against Project Chimera. A raid on Vane's base in the Tartarus Belt yielded more evidence, including records of other specimens who had already been sold to collectors throughout Alliance space. Task Force officials promised to prioritize locating and recovering these victims. Commander Kale, while stern during the official debrief, acknowledged that Alex and Zara's unorthodox approach had exposed a conspiracy that might otherwise have continued unchecked. "Your methods were irregular," he noted in his report, "but your instincts were sound. The welfare of the children must remain our priority." The question of what would happen to Nix, Tari, Taro, and Lyra remained. Initial medical assessment confirmed what they had feared. The children had no identifiable home worlds or families. Whether this was due to deliberate record erasure or because they were laboratory-created remained unclear. Alliance Social Services prepared to process them into the care system, a bureaucratic labyrinth that would almost certainly separate them from each other and place them in facilities ill-equipped for their unique needs. 2 weeks after the confrontation with Thorne, Alex found Zara in the station's observation lounge, watching the children who had temporarily been placed in a secure medical ward. Through the one-way viewport, they could see Nix playing in a shallow pool specially installed for him, his aquatic form already looking healthier. The feline twins were engaged in what appeared to be an intricate game involving jumping and balancing, their natural agility returning as they recovered. Lyra sat quietly reading a datapad, occasionally looking up to check on the others. They formed a family unit, Zara observed. A trauma response, but also an adaptive survival strategy. They're healing, Alex agreed, standing beside her. But social services finalizes their transfer tomorrow. Different facilities, different worlds. Silence fell between them, heavy with unspoken thoughts. I've been reassigned, Alex said finally. Security detail on Proxima Station. Apparently exposing a high-level conspiracy earns you a promotion rather than a demotion. Congratulations, Zara replied, though her tone lacked enthusiasm. I have received similar notice. The Lyran High Command wishes me to serve as liaison to the task force investigating Project Chimera's wider connections. Another silence, longer this time. I've been thinking, Alex began hesitantly. As have I, Zara interrupted, turning to face him directly. About the children. Alex nodded, surprised and relieved. They need stability. People they can trust. They've formed bonds with each other. And with us, Zara finished. I have been researching Alliance regulations regarding interspecies adoption. Alex's eyes widened slightly. You're thinking what I'm thinking? If you are considering a joint guardianship petition, then yes, Zara replied, a hint of uncertainty in her usually confident voice. The regulations are complex, but not prohibitive. Mixed-species family units are recognized under Alliance law, though still uncommon. Alex ran a hand through his hair, suddenly aware of the magnitude of what they were discussing. It would mean significant changes for both of us. Our careers, living arrangements, everything. I have already calculated the logistical requirements, Zara said, producing a datapad with meticulous notes. Proxima Station has adequate facilities and educational options for diverse physiological needs. My new position with the task force allows for a home base rather than constant travel. Alex couldn't help but smile at Zara's thorough approach. It was so characteristically Lyran, yet beneath the practical details, he sensed the same emotional commitment that had been growing in him. We've only known each other a few weeks, Alex pointed out, playing devil's advocate against his own desires. And in that time, faced death, exposed the conspiracy, and saved 4 children, Zara countered. I would argue we have had sufficient opportunity to assess compatibility. Alex turned back to the viewport, watching the children. Nix had emerged from his pool and was showing something to Lyra, who nodded encouragingly. The twins had included a medical droid in their game, clearly enjoying the machine's attempts to mimic their acrobatics. They need us, Alex said softly. And, if I'm being honest, I think we need them too. Zara stepped closer, her silver features reflective in the dim light. I have observed that humans often form attachments through shared adversity. Is that what has happened between us, Alex? It was the first time she had used his first name, and something shifted between them, the final professional barrier giving way to something more personal. Maybe, Alex admitted, but I think it's more than that. I've seen how you are with them, how you balance duty with compassion. It's something I'd want in a co-parent. The word co-parent hung in the air between them, making concrete what they had been circling around. There will be challenges, Zara cautioned. Cultural differences, biological needs, psychological trauma from their experiences. And prejudice, Alex added grimly. Not everyone approves of mixed-species families. We would face such obstacles together, Zara said with quiet determination, as we have faced others. Their eyes met, and Alex felt a certainty settle over him. In his 15 years of service, he'd never considered settling down, creating a family. His work had been his life. But these past weeks had awakened something he hadn't known was missing. "Let's do it," he said decisively. "Let's petition for guardianship." Zara's expression softened into a smile, still reserved by human standards, but, for her, radiant. "I had hoped you would agree." They spent the next hours drafting their petition, gathering their service records and character references, and preparing the necessary legal documentation. Pip, recovered from his injuries and now working as a consultant for the task force thanks to Alex's recommendation, agreed to provide technical testimony about the children's implants and special needs. Commander Kale, to their surprise, offered his formal support as well. "Your actions, while unorthodox, demonstrated exceptional judgment and a genuine commitment to the welfare of vulnerable individuals," the Vulcanoid noted in his endorsement. "These qualities are highly relevant to guardianship considerations." By morning, their petition was ready. Before submitting it formally, however, they knew they needed to discuss their intentions with the children themselves. They entered the medical ward together, greeted by curious looks from all 4 children. Lyra, as always, seemed to intuit the purpose of their visit before they spoke. "You have news," she said through her translator, which she was relying on less as her grasp of Alliance standard improved. Alex and Zara sat down, making themselves level with the children rather than standing over them, a conscious choice to emphasize equality rather than authority. "We want to ask you something important," Alex began, "something that would affect all of our futures." Carefully, using simple language and occasional help from Lyra to bridge communication gaps, they explained the concept of guardianship and their proposal to keep all 4 children together, with Alex and Zara as their legal parents. "No more cold eyes?" Nix asked, his webbed hands clasping nervously. "Never again," Zara promised. "You would be under our protection, legally and personally." "Stay together?" Tari and Taro asked in unison, their feathered ears twitching anxiously. "All of you, together," Alex confirmed. "We would be a family." The twins chirped excitedly to each other in their native language, too fast for the translator to capture. Nix looked thoughtful, his large eyes blinking slowly as he processed the information. Lyra, who had remained silent during the explanation, finally spoke. "You will be our new family? Not just guardians?" The question cut to the heart of the matter, bypassing legal terminology for the emotional reality. "Yes," Alex said simply. "We want to be your family. If that's what you want to." Lyra studied them both with her penetrating gaze, then nodded once, decisively. "Yes, we choose you to." The formal hearing took place 3 days later, conducted via secure communication link with the Alliance Family Services Division. The legal representative, a stern Juridian whose scaled features remained impassive throughout the proceedings, reviewed their petition with methodical thoroughness. "Commander Ryder, Officer Vlur," the Juridian began, "your petition is unprecedented in several aspects. Not only are you requesting interspecies adoption rights, but you are doing so as unmarried individuals of different species yourselves for 4 children of yet other species with whom you have no prior familial connection." Alex tensed, hearing the implied rejection in the preamble, but Zara placed a calming hand on his arm. "However," the Juridian continued, "the exceptional circumstances and compelling testimony from expert witnesses have been given due consideration. The welfare of these children, given their unique situation and documented trauma, must be our paramount concern." The representative shuffled some documents, the formal pause heightening the tension. "It is the determination of this division that separating these children would cause significant psychological harm. Furthermore, your demonstrated commitment to their protection, even at personal risk, speaks to your suitability as guardians." Alex held his breath, Zara's hand still resting on his arm. "The petition for joint guardianship is provisionally approved, subject to quarterly welfare assessments for the first 2 years. Permanent adoption rights will be considered after this probationary period, assuming satisfactory progress. Relief flooded through Alex. Beside him, Zara's normally perfect posture relaxed slightly, the Lyran equivalent of slumping in relief. "Thank you," Alex managed, his voice rough with emotion. "Do not thank me, Commander," the Geridian replied with a hint of a smile. "Thank your advocate." The communication screen split to reveal a second face, the Alliance prosecutor who had taken charge of the case against Dr. Thorne. Dr. Thorne's trial has revealed the full extent of Project Chimera, the prosecutor explained. These children were created in his laboratory, using genetic material from various species, with the goal of developing enhanced telepathic and empathic abilities that could be weaponized. Alex felt sick at the confirmation of their worst suspicions. Beside him, Zara's expression hardened. "In light of this," the prosecutor continued, "the Alliance has a moral obligation to these children. Your guardianship petition aligned with our determination of their best interests. I was happy to support it." After the hearing concluded, Alex and Zara shared a moment of quiet celebration before the reality of their new situation began to sink in. "We're parents," Alex said, the words still strange on his tongue, "of 4 alien kids with traumatic pasts and special needs." "Indeed," Zara replied, her tone serious but her eyes conveying a warmth that had become increasingly visible to Alex. "A significant responsibility. And we still barely know each other," Alex added, suddenly aware of how their professional partnership had transformed so rapidly into something much more complex. "Zara, consider this. I believe humans have a saying about jumping into deep water. Taking the plunge," Alex supplied with a smile. "Yeah, that's definitely what we've done." "I find I'm not concerned," Zara said after a moment. "Our complementary skills and perspectives will benefit the children. The rest will develop with time." Before Alex could respond, they were interrupted by the arrival of Pip, who bounded into the room with characteristic energy. "It's official? You're really doing this?" the Grisnik asked excitedly. "A human, a Lyran, and 4 lab-created kids forming a family? That's either the start of a bad joke or the most progressive thing the Alliance has seen in decades." "We're really doing this," Alex confirmed, unable to contain his own smile. "Well, you'll need help," Pip declared, puffing out his furry chest. "Those implants may be deactivated, but they'll need regular monitoring. Plus, I've been researching specialized educational programs for children with unique neurological profiles." Alex and Zara exchanged glances, both touched by the Grisnik's enthusiasm. "We would welcome your assistance," Zara said formally, though her tone held genuine warmth. "Great!" Pip clapped his hands. "When do we leave for Proxima?" 6 months later, the newly formed family had settled into life on Proxima Station. Their quarters, specially modified to accommodate the different environmental needs of each child, occupied a corner section of the residential ring with views of the gas giant the station orbited. The transition had not been without challenges. Nightmares plagued all 4 children, particularly in the early weeks. Nix required regular immersion in specialized saline pools to maintain his aquatic physiology. The twins' boundless energy and natural climbing abilities necessitated child-proofing beyond standard human parameters, and Lyra's emerging empathic abilities sometimes overwhelmed her, requiring careful guidance and occasional isolation. But there had been triumphs, too. All 4 children were enrolled in Proxima's diverse education program, where their unique perspectives were valued rather than ostracized. Nix had discovered a talent for 3-dimensional mathematics, while the twins excelled in physical arts and navigation. Lyra, her quiet demeanor hiding a brilliant mind, was already reading at an advanced level and showing aptitude for xenolinguistics. Alex had adjusted his security duties to allow more regular hours, while Zara's position with the task force permitted her to work remotely much of the time. They had developed a partnership that extended beyond co-parenting, built on mutual respect and growing affection, though both were taking that aspect of their relationship slowly. Pip had become a fixture in their lives, his official role as medical consultant expanding to include uncle duties that the children adored. Even Commander Kale had visited once, his formal manner softening slightly when Tari and Taro insisted on showing him their latest acrobatic routine. The trial of Dr. Aristhorn had concluded with a life sentence in a maximum security facility, his research permanently banned and his assets allocated to a fund for the victims of Project Chimera. Other children created by the project were still being located throughout Alliance space, many already sold to wealthy collectors who claimed ignorance of their origins. On this particular evening, Alex stood at the viewport of their quarters, watching the swirling storms of the gas giant below. Behind him, the sounds of family life filled the space. Zara helping the twins with a school project, Nick splashing contentedly in his pool, Lyra reading quietly in her favorite corner. "Credit for your thoughts, Commander?" Zara asked, joining him at the viewport. In private, they had moved to first names, but Zara occasionally reverted to his title with playful formality. "Just thinking about how much has changed," Alex replied. 6 months ago, I was a bitter Border Patrol officer counting the days until retirement. And I was a rule-bound officer with no vision beyond my next assignment," Zara added. "The children have changed us. For the better, I think," Alex said, turning to face her. In the artificial light of the station, Zara's silver skin had a warm glow that Alex had come to find beautiful. Their relationship had developed slowly, respectfully, both aware of the responsibility they shared and the cultural differences between them. But there was no denying the connection that had formed, deeper than either had expected. "I received news today," Zara said, her tone carefully neutral. "The permanent adoption review has been moved forward. The quarterly assessments have been so positive that Family Services sees no reason to wait the full 2 years." Alex felt a surge of emotion. "So that they could be legally, permanently ours?" "Yes," Zara confirmed. "There is, however, one complication," they noted. "What's that?" "Our marital status," Zara explained. While joint guardianship was approved, some committee members have expressed concern about permanent adoption by unmarried individuals, even with our proven track record. Alex was silent for a moment, processing this information. "Are they suggesting we should get married?" "They're suggesting it would simplify the legal process," Zara clarified. "But I would not want such a decision to be made for bureaucratic convenience." Alex studied her, trying to read the subtle expressions he had learned to recognize. "And what would you want it to be made for?" Zara met his gaze directly, in a forthright manner of her people. "For companionship, for partnership, for the family we have already created together." The simplicity and honesty of her answer touched Alex deeply. There was no grand romantic declaration. That wasn't Zara's way, nor was it necessary between them. What they had built was something more pragmatic, but no less meaningful. "I think," Alex said carefully, "that I would like to marry you, Zara Vlur. For those reasons, and maybe a few more." Zara's expression softened into the smile that Alex now knew was reserved only for him and the children. "I would find that acceptable, Alex Ryder." From across the room came a squeal of delight. They turned to find Lyra watching them, her large eyes wide with excitement. "She felt our emotions," Zara explained, not at all surprised by the child awareness. "And apparently approves," Alex added with a chuckle. Lyra hurried over to them, followed quickly by the twins, who sensed something important was happening. Nix pulled himself from his pool, water dripping as he joined the impromptu family gathering. "Are you going to be bonded?" Lyra asked, the translator rendering her question in formal terms that made Alex smile. "We're thinking about getting married," Alex confirmed. "Would that be okay with all of you?" The twins answered with enthusiastic chirps that needed no translation. Nix nodded solemnly, then broke into a wide smile that displayed his small, pointed teeth. Lyra looked between them, her empathic abilities allowing her to sense the deeper currents of their commitment. "You're already bonded in here," she said, touching her chest. "The ceremony will just tell everyone else." Out of the mouths of babes, Alex thought, amazed once again by the wisdom their unusual children often displayed. "Then it's settled," he said, looking at the 5 faces that had become his family. "We make it official." Later that night, after the children were asleep, Alex and Zara sat together in the living area, discussing practical details of their future. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from the task force. Another group of Project Chimera children has been located, Zara reported after reading the message, being transported by a collector attempting to flee Alliance space. Alex's expression hardened. Are they sending a team? Yes, but Zara hesitated. They're requesting our assistance due to our unique experience. They both knew what this meant, potential danger, possible separation from their own children during a mission. But they also knew they couldn't refuse. How many? Alex asked. 3, Zara replied. All younger than our 4. Alex nodded, decision made. We'll need to arrange care for the kids. Maybe Pip can stay with them. I will make the arrangements, Zara agreed. The task force vessel arrives tomorrow. As they prepared for bed, Alex found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. From reluctant partners to co-parents to soon-to-be spouses, their path had been unconventional in every way. Yet somehow it felt right. You know, he said as they settled into their now-shared bedroom, when we find these new children, they'll need homes too. Zara gave him a knowing look. Are you suggesting what I think you are suggesting? 4-7. What's the difference when you're already dealing with multiple species? Alex shrugged with feigned casualness. The difference is considerable in terms of resources, space, and attention, Zara replied logically, though Alex could hear the hint of consideration in her voice. Though Proxima Station does have larger family quarters available in the outer ring. Alex laughed softly. Let's rescue them first, then worry about the housing situation. Zara nodded, settling beside him with the comfortable familiarity they had developed. A wise approach. As they drifted towards sleep, Alex felt a profound sense of purpose. 6 months ago, he had been a disillusioned security officer counting down to retirement. Now he was part of something extraordinary, a family unlike any other, but a real family nonetheless. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, another mission, more children who needed protection. But they would face it together, Alex, Zara, and the 4 remarkable children who had transformed their lives. In the quiet of their quarters, with the gas giant storms swirling silently below and the stars stretching infinitely above, they had created something precious. A home where differences were strength, where trauma could heal, and where love transcended the boundaries of species and origin. It wasn't the life either of them had planned or expected. It was something better, something they had built together from the wreckage of Project Chimera's cruelty. A family forged in adversity, bound by choice rather than blood, and all the stronger for it.